9th, and today I'll be reading Glory Be, Chapter 9. Today's objective: students will be able to combine text evidence with their background knowledge to make an inference, and your DOL will be making inferences in an online assignment. Here are the steps you can take in order to make inferences about a character in a story. Step 1. As you read, notice clues about the character in a text. Step 2. Combine the clues with what you already know about people, which is your background knowledge. In Step 3, state your inference about what the character might do next. Glory Be, Chapter 9. We'll be making inferences about JT's feelings toward others. And just as a reminder, JT is Frankie's older brother. Chapter 9. A firecracker blew off his finger. After supper, Laura and me sat on the back steps listening to the crickets start up. You could about catch a lightning bug by holding your hand out. Before we knew it, we were slapping mosquitoes and I had to turn on the stoop light to see real good. My friend Frankie's coming by to play, but I think he's mad at me, I said, as if Laura cared. I looked up at the porch light shining on the backyard. I just hope he shows up before it gets too dark to play kick the can. Laura stared at me like I was a talking pig Latin. Kick the can? She shook her head. Do you ever play jacks with your friends? Outside at night, I told her, we play kick the can or baseball. I'm not allowed to play outside at night. I live in an apartment in a city. Laura smiled. Once, my grandfather took me to an Indians game, just me and my grandpa, back in Ohio. I jumped off the step and showed Laura the spot where we'd worn down the grass for home plate. Then I pointed to the big pecan tree. See that tree? That's first base. And the water faucet, that high one sticking up out of the ground back there, that's second. I ran from the pecan tree to the faucet and stopped to catch my breath. Third base is the steps where you're sitting. I raced to tag the steps and slid home just as Frankie and JT showed up. Hey, Glory, what are you doing? Frankie fiddled with the whistle hanging from his lanyard around his neck. I'm teaching my friend how we play baseball here in Hanging Moss. I dusted the dirt off my shorts. This is Frankie, I said to Laura, and that's his brother, JT. I pressed my lips hard so I wouldn't introduce JT with what I really thought of him, Frankie's fat, ugly brother. JT looked at Laura's brown sandals. He said, You plan to run for in them clodhoppers? JT's about 2 times as tall as Frankie and 10 times as mean. I could play in my socks. Laura started unbuckling her sandals. JT laughed at a snorty sound out of his nose. You wearing socks in the summer? Black socks? What's the matter with you, Yankee? Mind your business, JT. I untied my red sneakers. I'm playing barefooted, Laura. That's the easiest. How about you, Frankie? JT jabbed his scary finger half at Frankie. Remember what Daddy told you, little brother. Laura was barefooted by now, just like me. She dropped her shoes and those dumb black socks in a pile and stood up, ready to play. You want to bat, Frankie? I asked, but Frankie hadn't budged. What's the matter? Just 'cause your brother doesn't want you to play, you're leaving? He stood there looking at JT like maybe his brother had something halfway sensible to say for once. JT leaned down and kicked at something on the ground. He nodded at Frankie and glanced toward the step where me and Laura had lined up our shoes. Then he stuffed his hand in his pocket and started to walk away. Let's go. He stopped and turned, waiting with his eyes set hard on his brother. You coming? Frankie looked at me, then Laura. I can't stay. He moved closer. My brother will tattle to Daddy that I was playing baseball with a Yankee, he said to me. He rubbed his arm at the place where JT usually whacked him every time he opened his mouth. Or worse. Why are you always doing everything he tells you? I asked. JT is not your daddy. For the life of me, I don't know why Frankie worships the ground his big brother walks on. My little brother ain't supposed to play with no Yankees. Here to cause trouble and mess up our town. JT narrowed his eyes at Laura. Wish you'd go back to where you came from. Then he spit a gob in the dirt next to Laura's bare feet. She jumped back, trying to get away from JT's spit and his ugly words. You need to get out of Hanging Moss. Go where you're wanted. If there is any such place, he said, before strutting off toward his house. JT Smith, you stay away from me and my friend, I hollered out, clenching my fists tight. Stay away from my house and don't ever come back. I turned to Frankie. Why does he have to act so ugly? Laura moved nearer to me, reaching out for my hand like she hoped I could save her from JT and his spit. What happened to his finger? She whispered. Top of it got blown off by a firecracker. A cherry bomb 2 4th of Julys ago, I told her. You'd think his brain got blown off. JT is dumb as a box of rocks. I don't like the way he talks. Laura pulled me closer to the back door, farther from Frankie. And his finger is scary. Sometimes he tries to scare off little kids, I said. Tells them he has his bloody finger in his pants pocket. Even with half a finger, my brother can do anything he wants to, Frankie said. He was taking up for his brother now. Seemed to be forgetting the punches, all the yelling. He's the star of the football team, just like my daddy was, he said, sticking his chest out. That's about all your brother knows how to do, I said. Play football and act mean. Frankie, you coming or not? JT hollered from halfway down the block. I gotta go. Frankie's chest dropped. He kicked once at home base and headed off down the street. Yeah, follow your stupid brother on home. We don't want you playing with us, anyhow, I yelled after Frankie, and I hope JT's other finger gets blown off. I lost my hankering for baseball. Besides, it wasn't any fun with just me and Laura. Let's just forget playing at night. Laura looked relieved. We sat on the back steps for a few more minutes, watching fireflies light on our hands. It's dark. We'd better go out front to wait for your mama. I handed her sandals over and grabbed my sneakers. Let's meet at the park tomorrow. We can play jacks together or talk about Nancy Drew Brooks, Laura said, or the Beatles. I'll be there early. Before the back door had hardly slammed behind us, already I was glad I wouldn't be waiting for Frankie at Fireman's Park to make our lanyards and candles and bead bracelets at 10 o'clock sharp, like we've been doing every Friday morning since summer began. Now I had somebody new to be a friend to. Right, so now I'm taking text evidence and using my background knowledge in order to come up with an inference about how JT feels toward other people who are different than him. So the text evidence I chose was, my little brother ain't supposed to play with no Yankee. Here's to cause trouble and mess up our town. JT narrowed his eyes at Laura. Wish you'd go back to where you came from. Page 56. So using my background knowledge, I know when someone is speaking unkind words to someone else or myself, that they are being mean and hurtful. I know that they are not someone I would want to be friends with. So now in order to make your final inference, you need to combine your text evidence with your background knowledge in order to make an inference. I can infer that JT is unkind to those who are different than him. His father told him Yankees are no good, and now he doesn't treat Laura well, just because she's not from hanging moss. So we can form the inference or conclusion that he is not nice toward other people who are different than him. Your independent work today is Inferences online assignment, where you'll be filling out a graphic organizer, just like this one, but with a different story. And I also posted that story online as well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.